Stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned. I'm here with the coach, John Brent.
And I'm here with the vet, Mr. Ian Griffin. What's going on, man?
And what is not much, man. Man, I heard there's a lot of hoopla about this Olympic thing. Can you believe that?
Yeah, you can't smoke weed and run track, I guess. I don't know.
No, I guess you can't. I guess you got to follow the rules. I don't know. And but there's been a whole lot of debate. And I've seen you put a whole lot of debate on there. And this will be a good one here. So I'll let you go ahead.
I was surprised. Sure, I was surprised at a little bit of the backlash I got just for kind of giving my opinion. I think the first thing I posted was just said, "Let her run," and man, it started. I mean, the comments started, and at the time, it just kind of got me. I was like, this girl, I didn't even know the whole story of the mother passing and her having some issues with depression. I just heard that she failed a drug test for marijuana. 20 states have legalization of some sort of legalization of the marijuana. So it just hit me like, look, come on, man, let the girl run. She ran the fastest time ever on weed. I mean, give her 2 gold medals. Let's go.
Well, first of all I'm going to say is I got a lot of respect for the young lady. I don't think she's a bad person. But she owned up to it, and she didn't kind of deflect it, and she didn't go, whoa, and all that. She just kind of owned up on it. And I think the social media and the media is making it out more than it is, to be honest. And but I will also say this is I have a viewpoint of you trained your whole life for that. And as you trained your whole life for that, you kind of know the rules when you're training your whole life for that. I mean, you're probably well versed with the rules, and that is one of the rules. I agree. Maybe, I don't know, should it be there? Should it not? I can use some instances where we have that throughout society, So, but at the end of the day, they kicked her off going to Tokyo, and the girl ran like a 10:72 in the 100 meters or something like that. 6th fastest woman's record time of all time, It's her personal best. Pretty much she's faster than I ever was in my entire life. Maybe in the Cobra I could catch her, but other than that, that's probably about it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
Well, one of the things is, she has no one else to blame. There is no, bad test or, the rules were vague. I mean, it's very serious that she knew what she was doing. She knew there was an issue that she could be caught, and she did it. It is a rule. I mean, I don't like that on certain parts of Interstate 20, it's 70, and other parts that it's 75. And if just because I don't like that doesn't mean I don't have to follow the rule. I do think that we do all in this society try to push the limits to rules that we might personally think that are less valuable or less strict than others. Like it's pretty simple. Murder and rape and stealing are pretty bad, and they're at the top of our list. And then there's certain rules and laws that people go, I can understand that, maybe in a situation, but you're right, Vet. You and I had a conversation. The rule was you cannot smoke marijuana or you can't have THC in your system, and she had THC in her system. And one of the differences that I wanted to bring up was when you have someone like Lance Armstrong, which denied, and he made a mockery not only of himself but also of biking, and also of heck, even his hometown of Plano were getting feeling terrible because of the way he acted when he finally came out that he lied about it. This little young lady, I'm gonna tell you what, there's a character in her that a lot of people don't have these days. That she immediately said, "It's my fault. No one else's fault. I take full responsibility of it, and I'm going to be prepared for the next Olympics." I mean, if that's not an example when you make a mistake for the generation of kids today that we have the participation medal little wussies running around, then I don't know what is. This woman here made a mistake. She lost an unbelievable opportunity. But what she did is she stepped up to the character. I'll say she got first place on the podium for character for sure.
Coach, I 100% agree with you. And just think, and I don't mean to throw this in here, but I'm going to throw it in there. Both political parties, we had a president who would never own up to being wrong. One, we have a whole party, not just the president, the whole party will never admit to being wrong. Let's keep the governor in after he killed all the old people. He was never wrong. He blamed on the Republicans, with that there. Let's keep the guy who slept with the spy in, because he couldn't ever do wrong. Hell, let's put him in charge of the National Intelligence Committee. That's the smartest thing in the world to do, on and on and on. That would never admit it goes, hey, maybe we can take a step back, slap their hands a little bit. This young lady, I don't know how old she is, 22 maybe, out of LSU, just a young lady sitting there showing America what it's like to have a little intestinal fortitude, say, I did it, I'm wrong, I shouldn't have done it, and I'm moving on. And I hope the hell in 4 years she runs again, and I'm hoping that she makes freaking, what's that dude's name? Flash look like a slowpoke, man, because I'm rooting for her. I can tell you that right now on that part there. Now, I will say on the rule part, you and I talked about this, and I'm going to throw a personal scenario in there. Is I heard them talk, well, hey, we need to feel sorry for her because her mother passed. I feel sorry for any day of the week, anybody that lost their mother. But she knew the rule. And I just throw it out there. Is when I was in Afghanistan, my mom passed, and I just wrote a phrase, thought to ponder on it. I, as a sergeant major, when I was in the Army, if I would have went home and smoked some marijuana and came hot on THC, I would have been on the cover of freaking Army Times. I would have been court-martialed, and I would have lost every benefit that I had. I would have been an embarrassment to the Army, kind of like how I would have been ostracized the same way as you referred to Lance Armstrong. And I could have admitted to it, or I could have declined it and followed it. But either way, I would have been court-martialed out of the Army. My wife brought up, said, Ian, if you'd have done that, you'd have been done. I knew the rule, What would THC bother me when I'm on leave? It wouldn't have done anything for for me making sound decisions, but that was a rule we have in the Army, just like she has that rule. What does it do? As you and I had talked, what does it really give her an edge or anything? Probably not. It just helped her cope a little bit, but it was the rule. And, she's taking a beating for it. And I would love to see one of these companies that jump on all other social issues to maybe get behind her and support her and sit there and go, hey, the girl who sits there and fesses up when she does something wrong is the person for our company, instead of some places like Subway where I'll never buy another Subway sandwich again, having their representation there. That's just my thoughts.
Well, you're right. I mean, that could be a great 20-second commercial of her, getting in the blocks. And her voice saying, you know what? I made the biggest blunder of my life last year. And you know what? I'm going to train the next 4 years to show my country and to show this country that that just because you make mistakes, that you're not down and out. And you know what? Be ready. You know what? I'm going to tell you right now, when it got to be 4 years from now, I want to bring up is I remember how unbelievable that we all felt when PEDs first came up into Major League Baseball, when the Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, and Rafael Palmeiro got up there and lied and lied and lied. And Palmeiro even went in front of Congress, and McGwire went in front of Congress and freaking lied. And we knew they were lying. Congress knew they were lying. And then when they got caught lying, they still lied. So what we have got in our society is, if you're an athlete that we look up to, you are at a different standard for rules. So I've progressed a little bit on this since the last time we talked. Not only do I believe that she broke the rule and there should have been some kind of consequence for it, but I believe what she did is move a mark forward that, hey, look, athletes have to be at the same thing as me. I'm a teacher. And if I get drug tested and I fail a drug test, I lose my job. And she didn't, she lost her opportunity to run in this Olympics. So she got a 30-day suspension. But, she'll be able to redeem herself. But the way she handled it, I think not only is it something that we all, even the adults that I just named, even Michael Phelps, even all these people that have had issues that try not to be honest about it. This is the example to go, you know what? The country will love you if you tell the truth. And what the country has done, I haven't seen anybody post anything negative about her coming out and telling the truth. Only the debate has been, should she be able to run or should she not? But I tell you what, her character has set a bar, I hope, for everyone else in sports to go, hey, we need to be honest when we make mistakes.
Well, Coach, one thing I'm going to say is, you know, all those players you mentioned that lied in front of Congress, hell, everybody else lies in front of Congress because ain't a damn freaking political person get on there and tell us damn truth. I mean, we watched Hillary. What difference does it make? You know, we watch Nancy talk. So, I mean, you know, I don't even know what to say on those parts. Anyway, that's me getting too deep and too political on it, but I agree with you 100%. This young lady, hats off to you, ma'am, because you kicked ass on being a good character, and I'll say that outright.
I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a Sakari Richardson fan. If she never makes the next Olympics, if she has some kind of hamstring issue and she gets into some kind of other, if she gets on TV, gets into acting, whatever she does, I'm going to be a fan because you don't see that a lot. And she did it with grace and she did it with honor.
I agree. And then I want to touch, because you and I had talked about this a little bit. I want to touch on some other athletes, is we had one in Dallas that Randy Gregory, who has thrown millions of dollars away because of he uses marijuana. And I think, I don't know the exact time, but I think he's been in the league 5 years now. He's missed 2 whole seasons. He's played maybe a year and a half. So he's only got paid for a year and a half, or something like that out of those 5 seasons, not because of injury, all because of THC and substance abuse, which, like you said, in certain states, this is kind of going away. So my other question is, say all the states conform to THC rules all of a sudden within the next 3 years. Does Randy Gregory have a potential case for a lawsuit to go, hey, I was punished on something that was eroding away? I don't know. I don't think he does, to be honest. But it does beg that question as far as professional sports. I'm not talking the Olympics. I'm talking professional sports. Do they reach a little too far sometimes? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that there, Coach?
Well, they could reach too far, but that's the rules. Now, I believe that in a situation like that, any rule change that happens because of society's changing or whatever, it would be proactive. And I'm sure in contracts and things that they have, his contract says if you fail a test, you lose money. Going forward, if they change a rule or, something because states just start lying, let's say federally it comes out and it becomes a federal, let's say Congress finally does something and says, okay, marijuana is going to be legal in all 50 states. I don't believe something that happened 3 and 4 years ago, or even with this girl with Sakari Richardson, would have some type of legal remedy against, the Olympics, or he would have one against the NFL based on something that was a rule at that time. But I do think going forward that sooner or later, the federal government does have to come in and say, okay, are we going to be a legalization country or we're not? Because there's too many variables now with states, and there's too many variables with criminality and non-criminality that sooner or later, the equal protection of the 14th Amendment has to come in and say, look, everyone has to be treated equally in this. Yes, states can make different decisions because that's part of the Constitution, but I don't have some type of legalization of marijuana or THC or medical marijuana or something. We're almost getting to a half, and I just thinking that I don't know about my lifetime because heck, I could die tomorrow. I'm fixed to be 51. But in the next 20 years or so, I do think this issue is going to be resolved just because it's progressively going that way, that this country is going to take THC marijuana out of that big box of, of heroin, cocaine and opiates and things like that. That's just my opinion.
So I had a son that told me, he said, Dad, he told me about 3 years ago, Dad, all the states are going to pass marijuana laws. And I told him it's full of crap. I had to apologize to him the other day. I said, son, you might be a little bit smarter than what I gave you credit for. But hey, and then begs the question of this. Okay, they don't, there's what happens to people if they are to pass it, the marijuana law, people can do that. What happens then to people who've had a crime that all it was THC? does that crime in certain states where there's a 3 strikes you're out rule, does that crime get washed away? Or, there's a lot of questions that will foster this. And I would say this is something that we'd like to get everybody's debate on and their opinion on, to be honest. Coach, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think it would still be difficult. And I think if Congress has any kind of, foresight and insight, that they would make sure that the law was ever changed, that they would make that remedy of, hey, this is going to be proactive. I think if you make it proactive and make that the law, and then the Supreme Court would come back and then back that up, then I think it would just be an easier way to go forward. If you started going backwards and backwards and back, when is it going to end? When is it going to stop? Would it be 10 years? Would it be 20 years? Would it be a 3rd strike? What about a 2nd strike? I think you're getting yourself in a gray area. I don't know if it would go that far. I think there would be just such a let's go forward moment. Hopefully that would be looked at. But if you've been in prison for 16 years and your 3rd strike was marijuana, and you got a 25-year sentence, you would have an argument. Hey man, give me a break. It's legal now. But you still have to look at it. Was it legal at the time? Because I think you have to look at it as when you commit a crime, if the crime is on the book as illegal, you knew making that decision of the crime that it was illegal if you got caught doing it. And if you're looking at a place forward saying, well, it's not now, that's an issue that I don't think we want to get into as a country, going, well, what about then? If we'd have known that then it's still got to be what you did at that time, in my opinion.
I will say this is I know it's going to be a healthy debate, but I think that will land right. It will come right after it's done, because you're going to have somebody who had, let's just say, 2 times marijuana use. So they already got 2 strikes, and then there's states that 3 strikes are out. And the third thing they do is, I don't know, they rob somebody. Okay. And they go, well, hold on. These other 2, those are not on the books, anymore. Maybe, I don't know, because we changed with the times. And I think that scenario is going to be very prevalent real quick, as soon as, if we do pass that no marijuana, is illegal.
Yeah, no, I'll take it this way. If they decided to say, okay, we're going to say any possession of marijuana in the past is now not considered to be part of a 3-strike rule of any state, I think the whole country would be for that. But what I don't think you should do is say, well, any kind of marijuana THC crime at all should be taken out of that. Because what about distribution? What about manufacturing? What about moving hundreds of thousands of pounds of it? It's totally different than the guy that's smoking out a pipe at the park on the weekend for his personal use. So I think it could be something as serious. If you're a misdemeanor or a certain type of, that should not be. But I think that should be something that Congress, if they could ever do anything, would be able to say, hey, look, we have to say anything this back for this small amount could be looked at differently. But I don't think you can have any, manufacturing and distribution and things like that to say, oh, well, yeah, we're taking that off now. That'd be pretty interesting for us as a country to go, you know what, people doing something illegal at that high of an illegality to go, oh, you're not a 2nd strike now, even though you were employing 45 people illegally and running a $100 million business.
So I'll let Jason Bateman know that he's still got to watch his back if they pass the laws over there on the Ozarks.
Absolutely. Man, I love Ozark, baby.
I do too. So, hey, real quick, we just want you to come out and check our stuff. We want to hear what you got to say, but we also need you to get out there and share us, because we moved pretty good, and we haven't been on a whole year yet, close to it, but we done pretty good, and we got about 1,300 followers, and we want to keep on pushing that even more. So all I'm going to say is, from the coach
and to the vet,
stay tuned, stay tuned, stay tuned.